Hi, I'm Kristen. Welcome to my channel. So a lot of us love beauty blenders, but I don't think most of us like spending $20 on a tiny sponge. So today I'm going to be comparing a beauty blender to a cheaper makeup sponge. I have the actual beauty blender here, and then this is a Real Techniques makeup sponge. The beauty blender was over $20 and the Real Techniques sponge was around $7. So it's just a little over a third of the price there. So I'm going to be doing this side of my face with the beauty blender and this side of my face with the Real Techniques sponge. And we're going to do foundation, concealer, and setting powder to see how they compare. Before we get started with applying makeup, I just want to talk about some of the physical differences with the sponges. So as you can see, the Real Techniques sponge is a little bit larger. I've already dampened them. I always use my beauty blenders or makeup sponges damp so that they don't absorb as much product. Obviously the shape is different. You can see this one has the flat edge and this is just kind of your classic egg shape. But each brand does have multiple shapes available. These are just the ones I purchased. So the shapes won't have any kind of effect on my review today. So if you squeeze each one, they feel fairly similar, the material of them, but I would say that the Real Techniques sponge feels a little bit denser. I don't know if softer or denser is going to be better, but there is a little bit of a noticeable difference there in the feel. The beauty blender has a little bit more of a porous surface where you can definitely see that it's a sponge. It's got the little tiny holes in it. Kind of, you can see little microfibers coming up. And then the Real Techniques sponge definitely has a smoother look to it. You don't see as many of the little holes. There are some, and it almost has a little bit more of a fabric-y feel. So we'll see how those external textures compare when we're actually applying our makeup. So I'm going to start with putting on my foundation. I've already got my Milk Hydro Grip Primer on. I'm going to use my Huda Beauty Faux Filter Foundation. So I'm going to take about half a pump. I would normally use one pump for my whole face, but we're going to do one side at a time. And I'm just going to kind of dab it on this side of my face. And then I'm going to take the beauty blender. Like I said, it's already damp. And just start blotting it all over. The beauty blender is what I normally use, so there's not much that's notable about the application here. This is just my daily routine. As you can see, I'm doing little blotting motions instead of dragging it, and that helps it give it more of that airbrush look and not risk having any streaky patches. I'm able to use the fine little point here to get right up next to my eyebrow and get like down in the crease of my nose here. So pretty smooth blend there, no complaints. The beauty blender is kind of the gold standard of makeup brushes. So this is really going to be a little bit more of can the Real Techniques makeup sponge compare. So we're going to try that on the other half of our face now and see how it does. So I'm taking the same amount of the exact same foundation. Like I said, this one is damp as well, so we're just going to do the exact same thing. In the interest of keeping everything even, I'm not going to use this flat side at all so that shape doesn't play into it. So far I'm noticing a pretty minimal difference. Still got that point to get in the little tiny areas there. Okay, so the feeling of applying it wasn't much different. There were a couple little spots on my cheek here where I felt like I had to go over it twice to fully blend it, but it didn't really add a significant amount of time. So I don't know if that really justifies the price difference on its own. As for the look of it, I'd say that the finish looks pretty much the exact same on either side. Sometimes when I do this type of video, I'll have to wash my makeup off right away because there's such a big difference between one side of my face and the other that I can't even go out in public. I'm really not feeling this way with this one. It just looks like it was all applied with the exact same thing. So now we're going to try the same thing with concealer, see if there's any difference. So I've got my Mary Kay Perfecting Concealer. This is in light ivory. And I'm going to do just my normal routine here. I wasn't going to try these with contour because I tend to not use beauty blenders for contour anyway. I prefer brushes there. So I'm going to go ahead and go through my typical concealer routine on this side of my face and then the other side. We'll compare them again. I'm just doing my little triangle shape below my eye. It's just going to be a little difficult, but I'm going to get half of the middle of my nose and then a little bit on the chin and the forehead. So now I'm going to take the beauty blender and just start blending that in. No problems, blends right into my foundation, pretty quick and easy. You can see still that little point letting me get right up under the eye there. Sometimes I'll have to touch up my mascara, but it never messes up the eyeliner or anything. Okay, so that's just my normal look, no surprises there. So now we're going to do the exact same thing over here and see how the Real Technique sponge compares. It may just be because I'm so used to the Beauty Blender, but the size of this one almost feels a little weird. It's not that much bigger, but it's enough of a difference that it feels a little bit strange after being really used to a smaller one. I don't think it's hindering the performance at all, it's just kind of an adjustment. So again, able to get right up to under the eye there. Okay, so besides the difference in size, I wasn't really noticing much of a difference in the feel of applying it. When I look at it from far away, like with a mirror a few feet in front of me, it looks exactly the same, not really any difference. When I get closer to a mirror, which you probably won't be able to see well on camera, it actually looks like the side where I use the Real Technique sponge has a little bit more of a soft airbrush look under the eye. You can see a little bit of flaws in the concealer over here under this eye. It's not a huge difference, you have to be really, really close to see it. I was surprised that the Real Techniques brush gave a little bit of a better finish. So now I'm going to use some setting powder under the eye and down below where I would typically have my contour, and let that bake for a second, wipe it off, see if there's any kind of difference with using loose powders. So I'm using my Maybelline Master Fix. It's a loose setting powder. So I always just take some in the cap and then take the pointier end of my makeup sponge, get it on there like so, and then just go right under the eye, and this lets you really pack it in so that it really sets well and gets that nice baked on look. We'll do a little bit down here. Then I'm going to do the same thing with my Real Techniques sponge. They're pretty identical, not really seeing any differences yet. We'll see if there's any kind of difference after it's baked for a couple minutes. But as far as the application goes, not noticing much at all. Alright, I've given this a couple minutes to set, so now I'm just going to take a powder brush here and dust this off like I would normally do. We're just going to do it on both sides and then see if there's any noticeable difference. Okay, so from a distance, like I said, my mirror's like maybe 2 feet away from me. I'm not really seeing any kind of difference. I'm gonna look real up close with it. I honestly don't really see any noticeable difference. Even before, like I said, when there was a little bit more of an airbrush look on this side, now that I've put the setting powder over it, that's completely covered up anyway. So I'm not seeing any better finish on one side or the other. They pretty much worked the exact same. So I would say that in my opinion, neither product is better than the other one. They're just two extremely similar products that are designed to do the exact same job. Beauty Blender is more expensive, probably just because it's kind of the gold standard, the well-known, popular brand that everybody first thinks of when they think about any kind of makeup sponge. And then you've got the Real Techniques that does the same thing. It's definitely not as well known. Honestly, I bought it as kind of an impulse buy when I was getting some more setting powder. I thought it'd be nice to have separate makeup sponges for my foundation and my setting powder. So I just grabbed another cheap one from what was there, but then after opening it and checking it out, I thought it was extremely similar to my Beauty Blender. So I wanted to go ahead and do this video and see if there was any real difference at all. Honestly, I just don't think there is. It's kind of a personal preference thing. If you want to spring for the Beauty Blender, go for it. But since they're so similar and you've got a little over $20 versus a little under $7 at the time that I bought these products, it's definitely not worth it to me to pay almost 3 times the price for the exact same product. So I will probably be buying the Real Techniques sponges from now on. So there you have it. Other than the size and the price, I'm not seeing any notable difference in these two products that would make me choose one or the other besides the brand name. So hopefully this helps you when you're trying to decide which makeup sponge you want to purchase next. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing.